I hate Mondays. I'm hungover. There's no real news. There's nothing going on. But you guys have made wait long enough. I figure I'll give you guys a video here. A couple things I want to talk about in today's video, including a theory, a very good theory, a very good video by Crime Circus. And you guys know me. I critique other YouTubers. I do that shit. But when they're spot on, you got to give them credit. Guys, I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Let's do it. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Let's go.
Bring it back.
Now, there's a reason I haven't posted a video over here in a few days, because let's just call it what it is. There's no real news right now. And I get it. YouTubers will try to squeeze everything just so they can get you a video, just so they can stay consistent in the algorithm. I get all that. And I don't blame them. It's smart business. However, let's just call it what it is. There's really not a whole lot of news with this case. Guys, I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Before we get into today's video, I want to say first and foremost, thank you to everybody that supports the channel. Regardless of whether it's this channel or all my other channels, I don't care if you use Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Patreon. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do without you, the Gun Squad. Appreciate you guys so much. If you too find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Join the Gun Squad. You never know when YouTube's going to take me down. You guys are what keeps this thing going. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this, because I don't know how quick this video is going to be. I don't know how informative this video is going to be. In fact, I'll probably say it's not going to be very fucking informative at all, just to be perfectly honest, because there's no real news going on right now. If you take a look here and you look at everything that is, there is little trickles of news, but it's really nothing that's that big. Now, this is actually big news. I don't think we've discussed it here yet, is that the redacted grand jury transcripts will be released from the Kohberger indictment. So it does look like the defense will have a chance to see the grand jury transcript at least. Now, does that mean you or me will see it? Probably not. Considering grand juries are typically very secretive, I highly doubt you or me will get an opportunity to see it whatsoever. So don't get all excited. We may see it, but I'm pretty confident that we won't see anything from within that grand jury indictment. But it would be interesting to see nonetheless. They are releasing this. Also, the gag order is remaining. And also at this current point in time, they're going to continue to allow cameras in the courtroom, which is good. I mean, the gag order, I think, is good for the case itself. I do like the idea that cameras still can be in there. I mean, selfishly for all of us, we want to see it. I don't necessarily think it's good for Kohberger, though, because these motherfuckers, just like last time, they will come right out and immediately judge his body language after the fucking judge says, stop judging his body language. Stop focusing on Kohberger. The goddamn media is so dumb, they'll just come right out and keep doing it until eventually cameras are banned from the courtroom, which is very likely. It's very likely, but it's not right now. The gag order's still there, and the grand jury transcripts will be handed over to the defense with some redactions, of course. So we got a lot of interesting things coming on, and it's things like this. Like if you look at this from The Sun, fatal flaw. Bryan Kohberger has a serious character flaw, which resulted in chilling outcome, criminologist says. Did you see how the media just pours on Bryan Kohberger? We have no clue about Bryan Kohberger's character. Nobody in the media does. We, who follow this case every single day, all of us right here, right now, we followed this case every fucking day since November 13th, and we don't know shit about Bryan Kohberger. It's not like he's got a bunch of people out there talking about his past and his personality. But if you look at an article like this, these people claim to do it. Bryan Kohberger has a serious character flaw, and this is what's going to eventually get the cameras out of the courtroom, according to a leading criminologist who spoke exclusively to The Sun. So basically, they're going on to say Kohberger is a narcissist. This is what they're saying. As the suspect becomes loosely linked to serial killers like the BTK and Kenneth Bianchi, Barry D has explained how Kohberger's ego is the fatal flaw. Now, just listen, this is what this motherfucker's saying. He's even noted how his narcissism may be a leading factor when looking for a motive in the killings. The criminologist said that Kohberger has a serious character flaw. He called Kohberger an extreme narcissist with an overinflated ego bordering on self-interest at the expense of others. According to what? Is there any evidence that Bryan Kohberger is a narcissist? Is there any evidence that Bryan Kohberger is an arrogant dude? I'm curious where they're getting this information. But of course, these people just make shit up. And here's what's crazy. These people get paid to make this shit up. It says, with his arrogance bringing him into conflict with his peers who collectively dismissed him from his post as a teaching assistant. You see where they're going? You see what the suspected quadruple murderer received a master's degree in criminal justice at DeSales University. It says, according to the New York Times, he had been a teaching assistant at WSU as part of a doctoral qualification from where he was let go. Just 2 weeks before the murder, staff members arranged a meeting with Kohberger to address the growing concerns about his behavior. Kohberger was fired from his teaching assistant role on December 19th. I don't know if that's the case. I heard he was let go on December 30th when he was arrested. I don't believe that was the case. I could have sworn December 19th was just the end of the semester. This was due to his unsatisfactory performance as a teaching assistant, including his failure to meet the norms of professional behavior in his interactions with the faculty. Barry D. said his overinflated ego was like a balloon floating high in the air, which was suddenly popped, and out come now lying graves. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. He says, not dissimilar to so many well-documented cases, this can only be classified as a mass murder event. The motive being jealousy, seeking revenge. Get the fuck out of here. Kohberger's ego seems intact after he was strutting into court on Tuesday for a 30-minute hearing. These people are fucking clowns. So he's basically saying that Kohberger's arrogance is the character flaw that led to all of this. These people just make up whatever the fuck they want to make up. That's all they do. Then, by the way, that's the news what we got right now. The shit I just showed you is essentially the news we got for this weekend. That was it. That's all there is. So there's really nothing, and most of that shit was already here Friday. But we're going to take a look at a couple of these News Nation videos. Expert, Kohberger's past convictions not likely to be part of a murder trial. What past convictions? Are you talking about the one theft that got diverted because is that what was part of the diversion program that was supposed to be secret you're not even supposed to know about? Let's go ahead and see what these jackasses got to say.
And News Nation national security analyst Tracy Walder. She's also a former CIA officer and FBI special agent. Tracy, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
It's good to see you too, Natasha. Thank you.
So, Tracy, there's a lot to unpack here. First, prosecutors will seek the death penalty against Kohberger. How likely is it that he will be sentenced to death?
I mean, it seems pretty likely if he's convicted.
He's just accused of this crime, right? He has not been convicted. So, look, if someone...
The likelihood is very high. If this motherfucker did it, or if anybody else did it, whoever did it, we're talking about the murder of 4 people. Yeah, it's pretty high that in a death penalty state, these people will be sentenced to death. If there's any case that is deserving of being sentenced to death, it is probably the murder of 4 people in the manner in which this happened. I'm not saying he did it.
Of a crime like this with those aggravating factors. So those aggravating factors that they're really arguing is about the nature of the murder, the threat to society as a whole, murder and perpetuation of
Yeah, clearly whoever did this is a threat to society. Whether you think Kohberger did it or didn't do it, right? Clearly whoever did it is a threat to society. No question about it at all.
Burglary, those are all things that are enhancements that will lead to the death penalty. If he is convicted of those things, yes, most likely the death penalty would be applicable in this case. But it's really important to note, I know they just reinstated death by firing squad in Idaho, but they haven't executed anyone in about 11 years.
11 years, that's a long time.
And death by firing squad is only if lethal injection is not available.
Okay, and that is an important distinction, thank you. And I know, Tracy, we're learning more about Kohberger's arrest record. Apparently in 2014, he was arrested for stealing from his own sister.
You know what's funny about this is that all of a sudden they're like, hey, maybe we should check his arrest record. That's just bad journalism. I'm just going to be honest. To all these months later, what is it, 7 months later? 7 months later, you find out, oh, he's got an arrest record. How the fuck didn't you find that shit out immediately? Whatever.
And in that report, his dad told police that his son struggles with drug addiction. As an investigator, what is the significance of this in your eyes, and could it make any impact on this case?
No.
Look, here's the thing. If you have a whole host of suspects, yes, might I take a bit of a look at something like that, that shows that he has sort of this criminal record? Yeah, I might. But the reality is there are unfortunately a lot of people that steal from close family members to feed addictions that they have when they're in the throes of these addictions. And so the reality is being a heroin addict doesn't beget or lead to being someone who commits a quadruple murder. So I wouldn't look at it necessarily as an impetus, but maybe it might help me narrow down my field of people a little bit.
Okay. And is there any chance that it'll be entered into this case, that the jury will hear about that?
That's a great question. Theoretically, it was expunged from his record. It was a program that they had for first time.
Exactly. That means there is no convictions to talk about. It was expunged from his record. It cannot be used in court.
Offenders. So my guess is most likely not, simply because it was expunged for his record. Now, law enforcement would be privy to that information, but if it's not deemed relevant, it's not going to necessarily come in at the trial.
And we know the defense is asking the judge for a stay of proceedings. Are they trying to slow down this upcoming trial?
That's a great question. I personally do not think that the trial is going to happen in October. I just don't.
Of course it's not. But let me also say this. They're not trying to slow down the trial. They would have waived their fast and speedy if that was the case. You understand what I'm saying? Which they have not done.
And I think it's because of things like this. I'm not sure that they're purposely trying to slow things down, but when we see things like them not getting training logs and all of those kinds of things, that takes time for them to process. I don't think the prosecution is also purposely holding anything back, but those things take time. The FBI takes a lot of time in terms of processing cell phone data. All of these things take time. And so I think that's why the defense is asking for that.
Based on the documents that you've seen in this case so far, how strong do you think the case is against Kohberger, and what do you believe is the most damning evidence right now against him?
I mean, the DNA on the sheet.
Natasha, that's a great question. And
I mean, it's very simple. The DNA on the knife sheet is the most damning evidence. But I want you guys to understand something. If you go over here, I want you to understand something. If you go over here to Crime Circus, he just released a video that was fucking excellent. It is Bryan Kohberger and Brent Kopacka connections. Now listen, I have not discussed the Brent Kopacka connection really at all here. But that video by Drippity Drop, that shit is very, very, very convincing. Do you guys know that listen, I don't know if you know this. Prior to this case, prior to all of this, do you know that Brent Kopacka lived in Pennsylvania too? Only about 10 miles from the university, DeSales University, where Bryan Kohberger got his not his doctorate, that's what he's going for now, but his master's. Do you know that? Do you know that he only lived like 12 minutes from Bryan Kohberger's, he lived 45 minutes from Bryan Kohberger's parents' house? Do you know that they both happened the same year, only a couple months apart? They both happened to go all the way across the country to Pullman, Washington, and once again live right by each other? I want you to think about that for just a second. What is the likelihood of that? I'm in Georgia, right? Imagine what's the odds of me not knowing someone in my small town, my small area, and then automatically I move all the way across the country to, say, Arizona. What are the odds of some random person in my neighborhood doing the exact same thing to the exact same small town on the other side of the country? They both went to Pullman, Washington from Pennsylvania, just a couple of months apart. There's so much shit, and let me show you guys this shit, and we'll get back to all this. Let me show you guys this shit, because I don't want to play his video, because I don't want to do that to you. But you can clearly look at some of these maps. They were extremely, extremely close to each other. Extremely close. That's the house that Kopacka lived in. Let me show you this right here. That's the house that Brent Kopacka lived in Pennsylvania. How did a dude with just a disability check from the military afford that. That's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. That's pretty that's pretty expensive. Let's call it what it is. But there's some other shit I want to show you. And I don't want to steal Drippity Drop's thunder. I don't want to do that because he has a great, this is a great video and I want you guys to go check it out. But then they move all the way to Pullman, Washington, once again, very close to each other. 7 minutes. Steptoe Apartments, Coffee House Apartments. So they lived about the same distance from each other, a little bit more when they were in Pennsylvania. Then the same year they go to Idaho. This happens, and then Kohberger, right? And then Kopacka gets himself off by the damn SWAT team. And then just a few days later, 7 hours later, Bryan Kohberger's going across Indiana. Some of this shit is so crazy, and I'm gonna show you more. There's so much more here that you need to see, especially in this video. That's why you definitely need to go check out Crime Circus. But there's something else I want to show you. Like right there, you see Moscow. If you look at that Pierce over there, that's where Kopacka's parents live. So Kopacka's parents went over there too. Or maybe they were always there. Like, this is strange. This is a strange thing. But then there's some other shit I want to show you. And this is crazy. Do you remember this dog right here? Do you remember? Oh, no, well, that's not the dog. That's not the dog.
You know that I haven't forgotten about Buddy.
That's the dog right there. Remember Buddy, the dog that was skinned alive? I want to show you guys something. That's really fucking crazy, okay? If you look in Brent Kopacka's home, which as you can tell he was real big into horror movies, It, Stephen King, Scream. I want you to look at what's tied around that machete, okay? I want you to look at that very closely because Drip Drop hit a home run, in my opinion, with this. I'm going to show you something right here. Oh, let me pull it up here. I want to show you something right here. If you don't remember Buddy was skinned, filleted, if you will. I want you to look in the pictures of this dog. What is that around his neck? A blue collar, right? I want you to look at what's around that machete right there. It looks like a blue collar that's been cut. Do you see what I'm talking about? And by the way, this theory belongs to Drippity Drop over there at Crime Circus. I'm not trying to steal it from him. I'm repeating it because the video that he did is very fucking awesome. I want you to clearly see this, and I want you to think about it because then later on, the owners of that dog took this picture with that black leash. But in every photo, Buddy had the blue leash. What happened to the blue leash? Did they replace it? Or is it gone? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know. But what I'm saying is the connection here with Kopacka and Kohberger is actually pretty insane. So I got a theory, right? I'm starting to lean towards Kopacka, and I understand the media hates when you say that and all this shit, but I'm going to explain to you why. I refuse to believe that all of these coincidences happened at the same time. Let me ask you a question. What if that is the dog's fucking collar around that machete? What if that is it? Now, granted, it seems unlikely because it seems like the police would have already saw it. And it seems like if we're sitting here looking at this saying this, it seems like the police would have already found that and connected Kopacka to the dog, right? But what if Brent Kopacka was the motherfucker that did the dog? Is it possible that a dude that's that obsessed with horror movies, which I understand I am too, is it possible that this dude was practicing his filleting on the dog prior to what happened on November 13th, the Idaho 4? All I'm doing is asking. What's the likelihood that these people lived in Pennsylvania all this time, Kopacka and Kohberger, and then they moved to the same exact place in the same year in Pullman, Washington, all the way across the country? Now this leads to the next point. Kohberger's DNA on the knife sheaths. Is it possible that Kohberger gave or sold or hung out with Kopacka? And that's how Kopacka was able to have this knife sheath? And that's how Kohberger was able to, his prints were on that fucking thing? He didn't think anything about it. He just gave it to his friend or whatever. Is that why? I'm just curious. Like, is this an actual possibility? Now Kopacka's dead, and dead men don't talk, right? But Kohberger can. Kohberger can. I'm curious if anything like that will come out in trial. I'm not sure what you guys think, but that drip drop video is fucking excellent. It's fucking excellent. It literally, in my opinion, for the first time ever, leads to a potential connection between Kohberger and Kopacka. This is shit that you can't overlook. They went to school 10 minutes from where Kopacka lived in Pennsylvania. Then they both moved to to Washington, and they live 2 minutes away, not 7 minutes away in Idaho. In Washington. What are the odds, man? And then the exact same month, we got Kopacka getting off by the SWAT team after threatening to kill his roommates, and Kohberger apparently murdering 4 people. What's the odds? Shout out to Drip Drop for putting that shit together.
I have to be honest with you. I don't know how I feel. That is the honest question about that. I used to think that his car was going to be a very damning piece of evidence because I thought certainly there would be some kind of forensic evidence in it. For now, it looks like there's not, but there is a gag order, so I don't know exactly what they had. I think some of the more damning pieces of evidence, I do think that the knife sheath.
Oh, and by the way, let me also show you this shit. For you guys that did not know, let me show you this fucking shit. Give me just 1 second. 1 second, because this shit is nuts. Let me see if I can find it here. All I'm going to say is, did you know Kopacka at that parent's house, hold on, they had a silver Elantra. I don't know if you guys knew that. Hold on, let me see if I can find the image here that man was showed on his stream real quick. Maybe not. A silver Elantra and a white truck. A lot of you guys have talked about white trucks throughout this entire thing. I'm not a big believer in the white truck theory, but let me show you. There's the house. I'm trying to see where at in this video he showed it. I may not be able to find it. I'm not gonna say and make y'all wait all damn day. But the Kopacka shit, yeah, I'm not gonna find it, I don't think. But it was also in here that Brent Kopacka in his mom's driveway currently in Idaho. His parents' house has a silver Elantra, much like what we thought we saw in the gas station CCTV, like in a white truck, which a lot of you motherfuckers talked about. So you got to watch the Drip Drop video. And I normally don't promote other motherfuckers like that, but that Drip Drop video was legit. Legit as it gets.
The way can be explained away, but the fact that we know now what's actually under Maddie's body is going to be a bit problematic for the defense to explain away. Also, the fact that his cell phone was turned off for the exact amount of time where the murders occurred.
But we don't know that his cell phone was turned off. It just didn't hit off any towers because maybe he didn't get any phone calls or maybe he wasn't using an app. Do you ever think that was possible? Maybe it's not proof that he had his cell phone turned off. It just didn't ping off anything because it wasn't being used. It more than likely was off. But it's not a definitive that it was off.
that's going to be problematic as well. But to be honest with you, in terms of what I see, I'm not so certain that this is, an open and shut case.
Right.
Okay, I really appreciate those two pieces of information, and you always playing ball with us, News Nation national security contributor.
Absolutely. Now, what do Bryan Kohberger's latest court filings reveal? Now, there's a full segment on it right there, but also there's a smaller segment. Let me show you. We don't have to actually do that. What does his court filings reveal? Let's go ahead and check this out. Let's see what they got here.
Let me ask you, David, one of the issues that's come up with the DNA in this case is the defense wants the state to turn over all of the documents that the FBI has in relation to this ancestral DNA search that they did. They basically did this big family tree of Bryan Kohberger, and that's how they eventually figured out that it was him, they say. And so far, the state hasn't wanted to turn it over, saying, look, these are extended relatives, they have nothing to do with the case, and at the end of the day, we had the match from the knife sheath. Do you think that they should have to turn that over? I mean, do you think that's a big deal?
Yeah.
They should have to turn that over. They should have to turn over all the methodology. That can be done under protective order, so that anybody in the family who thinks that their privacy might be, impugned or invaded won't happen, because there'll be an ironclad protective order that the lawyers will observe.
Exactly.
I just did want to say about the fact that he may have an alibi and there may be other suspects and so forth. I believe that as long as the DA believes in this case, my point was the grand jury indictment that you asked me about, that I believe that the grand jury, if the DA wants to bring the case and they believe in it, even if this indictment got thrown out, even if there should be exculpatory evidence that wasn't presented to that grand jury, that would be ordered to be presented to the new grand jury. My point was just that a grand jury would indict this case. Then, of course, when you get to the trial phase and the motions, of course, all the exculpatory evidence, all the Brady information should be turned over, must be turned over. And this DNA, every single bit of it, every bit of the work that they did, every bit of the experts' analysis has to be turned over to the defense attorney so that there's a fair trial and so that they can do their own examination, including get a little piece of the DNA so that they can have their independent or defense examiner investigate, look at it, do the same test that the prosecution or the FBI did.
Yeah,
I love a prosecutor who crosses over to the right side, okay? I just do. But
well, I do think there's this misconception, though, that everyone thinks that, everything's going to be out there at this point. I mean, sometimes stuff doesn't come out till trial.
Absolutely.
I mean, we don't have to have everything in the documents.
Absolutely. And to David's point, I was digging up this whole, this it just wasn't settling with me that the state is not turning over this FBI stuff. As David said, they should. And the FBI, under certain circumstances, asks for NDAs from local law enforcement when they are involved in investigations. They don't want their methodology out there. So they ask. So I wonder.
I didn't know that.
That's me neither. I just learned. And so I wonder whether there's an NDA in this case. And that's why the state's just has a death grip on it.
I wouldn't be surprised. They want everything to be secret. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Just real quick, we only have 30 seconds left. I'm curious, Sarah, do you think it's strange that nothing about motive has come out yet on either side in any of these filings? We've heard all sorts of stuff, DNA, but we haven't heard yet why.
Right.
No motive, no murder weapon, no connection between Kohberger and the victims. It's not that hard to understand. They have nothing. This is going to be an interesting case.
And, we better hear why. I think every juror wants to know why, even though motive is not an element of murder or any crime.
You need to have something. You have no murder weapon, and you have no motive. What do you have? DNA on an object that was found in the house, which could have been transferred there by someone other than Kohberger. It's not that hard to understand.
What is this connection? I mean, so far the connections we've heard of have been really just nothing burgers. That he followed two of the girls on social media.
That's not true, though.
I follow a lot of people I don't even know I'm following. So they need an explanation, and they really need to. I think the lack of evidence matters as much as the presence of evidence matters.
Exactly.
And when we're talking about exculpatory, it's not just the presence, it's also the absence. Yep. There is not a single bit of biological matter anywhere that, in his car or anything. And people are saying he cleaned up, but there's no evidence of a cleanup.
But you are
right. There would be evidence of bleaching or cleanup, and we're hearing nothing about that either.
attorney, that's your job to find those parts of this. I mean, if you read the probable cause.
I'm not looking for biological matter.
No, but there's a lot there, though. I mean, with the cell phone data, the cell phone being turned off.
I'm talking about forensic. I'm talking about biological matter from force lanes.
But maybe he just knew how to clean up really well.
But see, in the state's papers, the state says there is no explanation for this lack of evidence.
Exactly.
And cleanup is an explanation.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. If there was a cleanup, we would have learned something about there was a cleanup. He
Bingo.
had bleacher, he had whatever. And so that's the problem. It's like 8 hours later they show up. This is a party house. We don't know who was there.
Exactly.
And the house, all they get is a latent footprint. What is he hopping or he's one-legged? I mean, one latent footprint and the sheet. So there's a real void here.
And the footprint was a size 9. Kohberger's a size 13. Wonderful, ain't it? Anyways, make sure you guys go check out Drip Drop video. Of course, Horse is over there still dropping beautiful videos every single morning. Make sure you guys go check out them creators. They had a lot more to bring to the table today than I did, and that's just the truth. But it's Monday. I haven't talked to you guys in a while, so I wanted to, share a few moments with you today. If you guys like what I do here, you can find my content valuable. Feel free to hit the links down below. Join the Gun Squad today. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful 4th of July tomorrow. To my fellow Americans, hope you guys had a great weekend. I'm still hungover, so I'm just trying to make it through this day. Love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, man. Let me know what you guys think about that drippity drop video. It's good shit. It's good shit. Maybe Brent Kopacka is more connected than we think. You got to check out that video for sure. See y'all next time. Peace out.